Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji. My name is Amarjeet Nanda and I am here to present to you Autobiography of a Yogi, which has been written by Paramahansa Yogananda. And in this divine journey, I welcome you all to be a part of this magnificent Guru who has been able to say to his disciples or to his Sangat how easy it is to be on the path of spiritualness. ये एक ऐसी किताब है जो गुरुजी ने पर्सनली रिकमेंड करी है टू बेसिकली गो थ्रू दिस बुक एंड बेसिकली एनलाइटन नॉट जस्ट योर सेल्फ बट ऑल्सो योर फैमिली, फ्रेंड्स एंड कॉलीग्स. This book has got the power of transforming your life into something which is beyond unimaginable. This book has been followed and religiously been read by many celebrities, sports stars, just name it. They've just gone through it because this book contains so many answers that you may have been personally missing in your life. So having said this much, I'd like to talk a bit about the book. So Yogananda was dearly called Paramahansa Yogananda, which is part of his Swami order, and he was given this fellowship by his gurus. So in this book we will also go through multiple parts of Yogananda's life, wherein he has personally been acquainted to the why are we sent to earth, why are we sent to basically जैसे गुरुजी बोलते थे कि लाइफ क्या है, लाइफ एक टाइम पास है, यहाँ पे आप आए हो अपने कर्म कटाने के लिए. So in this book the simplicity of that thing called life is actually mentioned clearly, and it's not at all a serious book wherein we need to go through some serious words or some very big meanings to need to go to internet and find out. It's written in a very simple way wherein you can easily correlate it with your own life. And having said that, I would like to read couple of things about the book so that we are all well acquainted that what is the divine calling that has come on to us. So Autobiography of a Yogi is the story of the life of Paramahansa Yogananda, who was born on January the 5th, 1893, and he took Mahasamadhi on 7th of March 1952. And this book was first published in 1946. And his Paramahansa Yogananda's original name was Mukundalal Ghosh. He was born in Gorakhpur, and then he taught basically something called Kriya Yoga, which he learned from his gurus. And then of course and there is a lot of mention to Paramahansa Yogananda was basically part of Shri Yukteswar's disciple group, and then ultimately Shri Yukteswar was part of Lahiri Mahasaya, and Lahiri Mahasaya was ultimately part of Babaji Mahavatar. Okay, but in reality the thing is that the series of gurus that Yogananda Paramahansa actually experienced, it's all leading to only one single divine light, and that is the essence of this book. So Autobiography of a Yogi has been basically written in many languages, and of course it is it is termed as the 100. It is actually one of the 100 most important spiritual books of the 20th century, and it has been highly acclaimed, and it's been in usage or in print since the last 70 years, and it's been translated to more than 40 languages. So you can imagine the magnanimity of this book and its essence, and how important it is for us to actually go through something which is fact based and spiritually so enlightening that you would personally find it that this is somewhat I was personally looking forward to, this is what I was personally yearning to. And as our dearest Guruji used to say that positive raha karo to positive socha karo, and all this is actually correlated in this book. And the rationale, the reason, the why Guruji told to read this book is all there. You just need to be a part of this divine journey and open your eyes, do meditation, do yoga if it is possible for you, have a simple life, a humble life. नीवे रहना बहुत ज़रूरी है. So having said that, I'd like to begin the book, the first pager of this book. The book looks something like this, which is, it's in English. In Hindi, the same book is called as Yogi Kathamrit. And depending on your language usage and your choice, you should choose the book that suits your needs. Sri Sri Paramahansa Yogananda was born in Gorakhpur to a devout Bengali family. In 1920, Yogananda went to the United States as India's delegate to an international congress of religious liberals convening in Boston. That same year, he founded the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is called SRF. And this will be used a lot of times in this book, and we will go through this journey together, as I mentioned, to disseminate worldwide his teachings on India's ancient practices and philosophy of yoga and his tradition of meditation. For the next several years, he lectured and taught on the East Coast, and in 1924 embarked on a cross-continental speaking tour. During this time, he attracted numerous celebrity followers. There are some followers which I've mentioned here. The following year, he established an international center for SRF in Los Angeles, California, which became the spiritual and administrative heart of his growing work. Yogananda was the first Hindu teacher of yoga to spend a major portion of his life in America. Autobiography of Yogi is the first-hand account of his life experiences and spiritual belief. Paramahansa Yogananda entered Mahasamadhi in March 1952. His mausoleum is in Palo Alto, California. So, having said that, I'd like to mention that this book contains 48 chapters, and there are clear mentions of the yogi's early life and how he managed to basically be a part of the. He basically understood the meaning of simplicity in life, and that's what we should adopt by reading this book, by learning this book. So I welcome you all in this divine journey. Let us begin by starting the first chapter of this book, which is chapter 1, My Parents and Early Life. So the characteristics features of Indian culture have long been a search for ultimate verities and the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. My own path led me to a Christ-like sage whose beautiful life was chiseled for the ages. He was one of the great masters who are India's sole remaining wealth. Emerging in every generation, they have bulwarked their land against the fate of Babylon and Egypt. I find my earliest memories covering the anachoistic features of a previous incarnation. Clear recollections came to me of a distant life, a yogi amidst the Himalayan snows. These glimpses of the past by some dimensionless link also afforded me a glimpse of the future. The helpless humiliations of infancy are not banished from my mind. I resentfully conscious of not being able to walk or express myself freely. Prayerful surges arose within me as I realized my bodily impotence. My strong emotional life took silent form as words in many languages. Among the inward confusion of tongues, my ear gradually accustomed itself to the circumambient Bengali syllables of my people. The beguiling scope of an infant's mind, adultly considered limited to toys and toes. So there are a lot of very simple, funny things which are mentioned between the lines, and that shows that he didn't consider himself as he was really humble. So this is depicted in many pages of this book. Psychological ferment and my unresponsive body brought me to an obstinate crying spells. I recall the general family bewilderment at my distress. Happier memories too crowd in on me. My mother's caresses and my first attempts at lisping phrases and toddling steps. These early triumphs, usually forgotten quickly and yet a natural basis of self-confidence. My far-reaching memories are not unique. Many yogis are known to have retained their self-consciousness without interruption by the dramatic transition to and from life and death. If man be solely a body, its loss indeed places the final period to identity, but if prophets down the millenniums speak with truth, man is essentially of incorporeal nature. The persistent core of human egoity is only temporarily allied with sense perception. So these are deeper meanings which are being mentioned in this first chapter of this book, but we will get to know the details of it as we progress in our journey. Although odd and clear memories of infancy are not extremely rare, during travels in numerous lands I have listened to early recollections from the lips of veracious men and women. I was born in the last decade of the 19th century and passed my first 8 years at Gorakhpur. This was my birthplace in the United Province of Northeastern India. We were 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. I, Mukunda Lal Ghosh, was the second son and the 4th child. Father and mother were Bengalis of the Kshatriya caste. Both were blessed with saintly nature. Their mutual love, tranquil and dignified, never expressed itself frivolously. A perfect parental harmony was the calm center for the evolving tumult of 8 young lives. Father Bhagavati Charan Ghosh was kind, grave and at times stern. Loving him dearly, we children yet observed a certain referential distance. An outstanding mathematician and logician, he was guided principally by his intellect. But mother was a queen of hearts and taught us only through love. After her death, father displayed more of his inner tenderness. I noticed then that his gaze often metamorphosed into my mother's. In mother's presence, we tasted our earliest bittersweet acquaintance with the scriptures. Tales from the Mahabharata and Ramayana were resourcefully summoned to meet the exigencies of discipline. Instruction and chastisement went hand in hand. A daily gesture of respect to father was given by mothers dressing us carefully in the afternoons to welcome him home from the office. His position was similar to that of a vice president in the Bengal Nagpur Railway, one of India's large companies. His work involved traveling and our family lived in several cities during my childhood. Mother held an open hand toward the needy. Father was also kindly disposed, but his respect for law and order extended to the budget. One fortnight, mother spent in feeding the poor more than the father's monthly income. All I ask, please, is to keep your charities within a reasonable limit. Even a gentle rebuke from her husband was grievous to mother. She ordered a hackney carriage, not hinting to the children at any disagreement. Goodbye. I am going away to my mother's home. Ancient ultimatum. So we broke into astounded lamentations. Our maternal uncle arrived opportunely. He whispered to father some sage counsel, garnered no doubt from the ages. After father had made a few conciliatory remarks, mother happily dismissed the cab. Thus ended the only trouble I ever noticed between my parents. But I recall a characteristic discussion. Please give me 10 rupees for a hapless woman who has just arrived at the house. Mother's smile had its own persuasion. Why 10 rupees? 1 is enough. Father added a justification. When my father and grandparents died suddenly, I had my first taste of poverty. My only breakfast before walking miles to my school was a small banana. Later at the university, I was in such need that I applied to a wealthy judge for aid of 1 rupee per month. He declined, remarking that even a rupee is important. How bitterly you recall the denial of that rupee. Mother's heart had an instant logic. Do you want this woman also to remember painfully your refusal of 10 rupees which she needs urgently? You win. With the immemorial gesture of vanquished husbands, he opened his wallet. Here is a 10 rupee note. Give it to her with my goodwill. So father tended to first say no to any new proposal. His attitude towards the strange woman who so readily enlisted mother's sympathy was an example of his customary caution. Aversion to instant acceptance, typical of the French mind in the West, is really only honoring the principle of due reflection. I always found father reasonable and even balanced in his judgments. If I could bolster up my numerous requests with 1 or 2 good arguments, he invariably put the coveted goal within my reach, whether it were a vacation trip or a new motorcycle. Father was a strict disciplinarian to his children in their early years, but his attitude toward himself was truly Spartan. He never visited the theatre, for instance, but sought his recreation in various spiritual practices and in reading the Bhagavad Gita. Shunning all luxuries, he would cling to one old pair of shoes until they were useless. His sons bought automobiles after they came into popular use, but father was always content with the trolley car for his daily ride to the office. The accumulation of money for the sake of power was alien to his nature. Once, after organizing the Calcutta Urban Bank, he refused to benefit himself by holding any of its shares. He had simply wished to perform a civic duty in his spare time. Several years after father had retired on a pension, an English accountant arrived to examine the books of the Bengal Nagpur Railway Company. The amazed investigator discovered that father had never applied for overdue bonuses. He did the work of 3 men, the accountant told the company. He has rupees 125,000, about $41,250, owing to him as back compensation. The officials presented father with a check for this amount. He thought so little about it that he overlooked any mention to the family. Much later, he was questioned by my youngest brother Vishnu. He noticed the large deposit on a bank statement. "Why be elated by material profit?" Father replied. "The one who pursues a goal of even-mindedness is neither jubilant with gain nor depressed by loss. He knows that man arrives penniless in this world and departs without a single rupee." Early in their married life, my parents became disciples of a great master, Lahiri Mahasaya of Banaras. This contact strengthened father's naturally ascetical temperament. Mother was a remarkable admission to my eldest sister, Roma. "Your father and myself live together as a man and wife only once a year for the purpose of having children." Father first met Lahiri Mahasaya through Abhinash Babu, an employee in the Gorakhpur office of the Bengal Nagpur Railway. Avinash instructed my young years with engrossing tales of many Indian saints. He invariably concluded with a tribute to the superior glories of his own Guru. "Did you ever hear of the extraordinary circumstance under which your father became a disciple of Lahiri Mahasaya?" So basically how his father got into Lahiri Mahasaya's Sharan was basically going to be described next, and it's an interesting story how how we get connected to our Guru, the same way like all of us have been connected to our dearest Guruji. He has appeared to us through interfaces, through mediums, through different other Sangats, so that we could connect, and in a very simplistic way he has made all of us a part of the Guru Sangat, which is indeed our global Pariwar. Years ago, so basically it was on a lazy summer afternoon as Abhinash and I sat together in the compound of my home, that he put his intriguing question. I shook my head with a smile of anticipation. "Years ago, before you were born, I asked my superior officer, your father, to give a week's leave for my Gorakhpur duties in order to visit my Guru in Banaras, which is Lahiri Mahasaya. Your father ridiculed my plan. Are you going to become a religious fanatic?" he inquired. "Concentrate on your office work if you want to forge ahead." Sadly, walking home along a wooden path that day, I met your father in a palanquin. He dismissed his servants and conveyance and fell into step beside me. Seeking to console me, he pointed out the advantages of striving for worldly success. But I heard him listlessly. My heart was repeating, "Lahiri Mahasaya, I cannot live without seeing you." Our path took us to the edge of the tranquil field where the rays of the late afternoon sun were still crowning in the tall ripple of the wild grass. We paused in admiration. There in the field, only a few yards from us, the form of the great Guru suddenly appeared. Wow. "Bhagavati, you are too hard on your employee." His voice was resonant in our astounded ears. He vanished as mysteriously as he had come. On my knees, I was exclaiming, "Lahiri Mahasaya, Lahiri Mahasaya." Your father was motionless with stupefaction for a few moments. "Abhinash, not only I do give you leave, but I give myself leave to start for Benares tomorrow. I must know this great Lahiri Mahasaya who is able to materialize himself at will in order to intercede for you. I will take my wife and ask this master to initiate us in his spiritual path. Will you guide us to him? Exactly the same way how we all of us got connected to Guruji and slowly started going to satsangs, started getting calls, that the inner call to go and visit Bade Mandir. So this is the same way how Yogananda's father was connected for the first time when his guru appeared in a field. So, of course, joy filled me with the miraculous answer to my prayer and the quick favorable turn of events. The next evening, your parents and I entrained for Benares. We took a horse cart the following day and then had to walk through narrow lanes to my guru's secluded home. Entering his little parlor, we bowed before the master, enlocked in his habitual lotus posture. He blinked his piercing eyes and leveled them on your father. Bhagavati, you are too hard on your employee. His words were the same as that he had used 2 days before in the Gorakhpur field. He added, I am glad that you have allowed Abhinash to visit me and that you and your wife have accompanied him. To their joy, he initiated your parents in the spiritual practice of Kriya Yoga. This we will get to learn a lot in detail in this book. There are a lot of references which have been made that how different yogis and saints have got benefited through Kriya Yoga. Your father and I are, as brother disciples, have been close friends since the memorable day of the vision. Lahiri Mahasaya took a definite interest in my own birth. Your life shall surely be linked to with his own. The Master's blessings never fails. Lahiri Mahasaya left this world shortly after I had entered it. His picture in an ornate frame always graced our family altar in the various cities to which father was transferred by his office. Similar to how we carry or keep our dearest Guruji's swarups with us, where we travel the same way. Yogananda's father used to basically travel wherever he's going. He used to keep a swarup of Lahiri Mahasaya, his guru. Many a morning and evening found mother and me meditating before an improvised shrine, offering flowers dipped in fragrant sandalwood paste. With frankincense and myrrh, as well as our united devotions, we honored the divinity which had found full expression in Lahiri Mahasaya. His picture had a surpassing influence over my life. As I grew, the thought of the Master grew with me. In meditation, I would often see his photographic image emerge from its small frame and taking a living form sit before me. When I attempted to touch the feet of his luminous body, it would change and again become the picture. As childhood slipped into boyhood, I found Lahiri Mahasaya transformed in my mind from a little image cribbed in a frame to a living, enlightening presence. I frequently prayed to him in moments of trial or confusion, finding within me his solacing direction. At first, I grieved because he was no longer physically living. As I began to discover his secret omnipresence, I lamented no more. I had often written to those of my disciples who were over anxious to see him, why come to view my bones and flesh when I am ever within range of your kutasha, that is spiritual sight. This is something very similar to what we are also knowing as part of Guru Sangat, that after Guruji took Mahasamadhi, his powers got infinite and we are able to connect with him through our sixth sense, and Guruji talks to us and he gives us directions. And I think, things are much better when now we can connect with Guruji wherever we want. So thank you Guruji, Shukrana hai Malik ka. I was blessed about the age of 8 with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Lahiri Mahasaya. This experience gave intensification to my love. While at our family estate in Ichhapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, mother frantically motioned me to look at Lahiri Mahasaya's picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I gazed at his photograph and saw a blinding light enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms disappeared. I was well. At once I felt strong enough to bend over and touch mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her Guru. Mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. O omnipresent Master, I thank thee that thy light hath healed my son. So this we have also observed many times, how Guruji does miraculous healings, and he pitches in the right time, gives us guidance, and mainly during medical emergencies he does come forward and heal us through. I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I had instantly recovered from an unusually fatal disease. One of the precious possessions is that same photograph given to Father by Lahiri Mahasaya himself. It carries a holy vibration. The picture had a miraculous origin. I heard the story from Father's brother disciple Kali Kumar Roy. It appears that the master had an aversion to being photographed. Over his protest, a group picture was once taken of him and a cluster of devotees, including Kali Kumar Roy. It was an amazed photographer who discovered that the plate, which had clear images of all the disciples, revealed nothing more than a blank space in the center where he had reasonably expected to find the outlines of Lahiri Mahasaya. The phenomenon was widely discussed. A certain student and expert photographer, Gangadhar Babu, boasted that the fugitive figure would not escape him. The next morning, as the Guru sat in lotus posture on a wooden bench with a screen behind him, Gangadhar Babu arrived with his equipment. Taking every precaution for success, he greedily exposed 12 plates. On each one he found the imprint of the wooden bench and screen. But once again, the master's form was missing. With tears and shattered pride, Gangadhar Babu sought out his Guru. It was many hours before Lahiri Mahasaya broke his silence with a pregnant comment, I am spirit. Can your camera reflect the omnipresent invisible? I see it cannot. But, holy sir, I lovingly desire a picture of the bodily temple where alone to my narrow vision that spirit appears fully to dwell. Come then, tomorrow morning I will pose for you. So ऐसे ही गुरुजी छोटे छोटे विशेष भी हमारे लिए पूरी करते हैं. So similar to that, Lahiri Mahasaya being the Guru, he told that ठीक है, if you want to take my picture, then come tomorrow morning and I will ensure that you get the photograph. Again, the photographer focused his camera. This time the sacred figure, not cloaked with mysterious imperceptibility, was sharp on the plate. The master never posed for another picture, at least I have seen none. The picture is reproduced in this book. Lahiri Mahasaya's fair features of a universal caste hardly suggest to what race he belonged. His intense joy of God communion is slightly revealed in a somewhat enigmatic smile. His eyes, half open to denote a nominal direction on the outer world, are half closed also, completely obvious to the poor lures of the earth. He was fully awake at all times to the spiritual problems of seekers who approached for his bounty. Shortly after my healing through the potency of Guru's picture, I had an influential spiritual vision. Sitting on my bed one morning, I fell into a deep reverie. What is behind the darkness of closed eyes? This probing thought came powerfully into my mind. An immense flash of light at once manifested to my inward gaze. An immense divine shapes of saints sitting in meditation posture in mountain caves formed like miniature cinema pictures on the large screen of radiance within my forehead. Who are you? I spoke aloud. We are the Himalayan yogis. The celestial response is difficult to describe. My heart was thrilled. Ah, I long to go to the Himalayas and become like you. The vision vanished, but the silvery beams expanded in ever widening circles to infinity. What is this wondrous glow? I am Ishvara, I am light. The voice was as murmuring clouds. I want to be one with thee. Out of the slow dwindling of my divine ecstasy, I salvaged a permanent legacy of inspiration to see God. He is eternal, ever new joy. This memory persisted long after the day of rapture. Another early recollection is outstanding and literally so, for I bear the scar to this day. My elder sister Uma and I were seated in the early morning under the neem tree in our Gorakhpur compound. She was helping me with a Bengali primer. What time I could spare my gaze from the nearby parrots eating ripe margosa fruit. Uma complained of a boil on her leg and fetched a jar of ointment. I smeared a little of the salve on my forearm. Why do you use medicine on a healthy arm? Well, sis, I feel I am going to have a boil tomorrow and I am testing your ointment on the spot where the boil will appear. So, you little liar. Sis, don't call me a liar until you see what happens in the morning. Indignation filled me. Uma was unimpressed and thrice repeated her taunt. An adamant resolution sounded in my voice as I made a slow reply. By the power of will in me, I say that tomorrow I shall have a fairly large boil in this exact place on my arm, and your boil shall swell to twice its present size. Morning found with a stalwart boil on the indicated spot. The dimensions of Uma's boil had doubled. With a shriek, my sister rushed to mother. Mukunda has become a necromancer. Gravely, mother instructed me never to use the power of words for doing harm. I have always remembered her counsel and followed it. My boil was surgically treated. A noticeable scar left by the doctor's incision is present even today. On my right forearm is a constant reminder of the power of man's sheer word. Those simple and apparent harmless phrases to Uma, spoke with deep concentration, had possessed sufficient hidden force to explode like bombs and produce definite through injurious effects. I understood later that the explosive vibratory power in speech could be wisely directed to free one's life from difficulties and thus operate without scar or rebuke. Our family moved to Lahore in the Punjab. There I acquired a picture of the Divine Mother in the form of Goddess Kali. It sanctified a small informal shrine in the balcony of our home, and univocal conviction came over me that fulfillment would crown any of my prayers uttered in that sacred spot. Standing there with Uma one day, I watched two kites flying over the roofs of the buildings on the opposite side of the very narrow lane. Why are you so quiet? Uma pushed me playfully. I am just thinking how wonderful is it that Divine Mother gives me whatever I ask. I suppose she would give you those two kites. My sister laughed derisively. Why not? I began silent prayers for their possession. Matches are played in India with kites whose strings are covered with glue and ground glass. Each player attempts to sever the string of his opponent. A freed kite sails over the roofs. There is great fun in catching it. Inasmuch as Uma and I were on the balcony, it seemed impossible that any loose kite could come into our hands. Its string would naturally dangle over the roofs. The player across the lane began their match. One string was cut. Immediately the kite floated in my direction. It was stationary for a moment. Through sudden abatement of breeze, which sufficed to firmly entangle the string with a cactus plant on top of the opposite house, a perfect loop was formed for my seizure. I handed the prize to Uma. It was just an extraordinary accident and not an answer to your prayer. If your other kite comes to you, then I shall believe. Sister's dark eyes conveyed more amazement than her words. I continued my prayers with a crescendo intensity. A foreseeable tug by the other player resulted in the abrupt loss of his kite. It headed towards me, dancing in the wind. My helpful assistant, the cactus plant, again secured the kite string in the necessary loop by which I could grasp it. I presented my second trophy to Uma. Indeed, Divine Mother listens to you. This is all too uncanny for me. Sister bolted away like a frightened fawn. So this is the end of chapter 1, which is basically my parents and my early life. And in the next chapter we are going to go through another beautiful journey which is related to Guruji's again one of his recommended books, which is Autobiography of a Yogi. So in the second chapter I am going to read out my mother's death and the Mystic Amulet. My mother's greatest desire was the marriage of my elder brother. When I behold the face of Ananta's wife, I shall find heaven on this earth. I frequently heard mother express in these words her strong Indian sentiment for family continuity. I was about 11 years old at the time of Ananta's betrothal. Mother was in Calcutta, joyously supervising the wedding preparations. Father and I alone remained at our home in Bareilly in northern India, whence father had been transferred after 2 years at Lahore. I had previously witnessed the splendor of nuptial ties for my 2 elder sisters Roma and Uma, but for Ananta, as the eldest son, plans were truly elaborate. Mother was welcoming numerous relatives daily arriving in Calcutta from distant homes. She lodged them comfortably in large newly acquired house at 50 Amherst Street. Everything was in readiness. The banquet delicacies, the gay throne on which brother was to be carried to the home of the bride-to-be, the rows of colorful lights, the mammoth cardboard elephants and camels, the English, Scottish and Indian orchestras, the professional entertainers, the priest for the ancient rituals. जैसे इंडिया में शादियाँ होती हैं, that we have a lot of preparation and a lot of celebrations, and those are being explained here. Father and I in gala spirits were planning to join the family in time for the ceremony. Shortly before the great day, however, I had an ominous vision. It was in Bareilly on a midnight. As I slept beside father on the piazza of our bungalow, I was awakened by a peculiar flutter of the mosquito netting over the bed. The flimsy curtains parted, and I saw the beloved form of my mother. Awaken your father. Her voice was only a whisper. Take the first available train at 4 o'clock this morning. Rush to Calcutta if you would see me. The wraith-like figure vanished. Father, mother is dying. The terror in my tone aroused him instantly. I sobbed out the fatal tidings. Never mind that hallucination of yours. Father gave his characteristic negation to a new situation. Your mother is in great health. If we get any bad news, we shall start tomorrow. You shall never forgive yourself for not starting now. Anguish caused me to add bitterly, nor shall I ever forgive you. The melancholy morning came with explicit words. Mother dangerously ill, marriage postponed, come at once. Father and I left distractedly. One of my uncles met us en route at a transfer point. A train thundered towards us, looming with telescopic increase. From my inner tumult, an abrupt determination rose to hurl myself on the railroad tracks. Already barefoot, I felt of my mother. I could not endure a world suddenly barren to the bone. I loved mother as my dearest friend on earth. Her solacing black eyes had been my surest refuge in the trifling tragedies of childhood. Does she live? Does she yet live? I stopped for one last question to my uncle. Of course she is alive. He was not slow to interpret the desperation in my face. I scarcely believed him. When we reached our Calcutta home, it was only to confront the stunning mystery of death. I collapsed into an almost lifeless state. Years passed before any reconciliation entered my heart. Storming the very gates of heaven, my cries at last summoned the Divine Mother. Her words brought final healing in my suppurating wounds. It is I who have watched over thee, life after life, in the tenderness of many mothers. See in my gaze the 2 black eyes, the lost beautiful eyes thou seekest. Father and I returned to Bareilly soon after the crematory rites for the well-beloved. Early every morning I made a pathetic memorial pilgrimage to a large Shioli tree which shaded the smooth green gold lawn before our bungalow. In poetical moments, I thought that these white Shioli flowers were strewing themselves with a willing devotion over the grassy altar. Mingling tears with the dew, I often observed a strange otherworldly light emerging from the dawn. Intense pangs of longing for God assailed me. I felt powerfully drawn to the Himalayas. One of my cousins, fresh with a period of travel in the holy hills, visited us in Bareilly. I listened eagerly to his tales about the high mountain abode of yogis and swamis. We will get to know a lot about Himalayas and the references which are being made in this book a lot of times going forward. Let us run away to the Himalayas. My suggestion one day to Dwarka Prasad, the youngest son of our landlord in Bareilly, fell on unsympathetic ears. I revealed my plan to my elder brother, who had just arrived to see father. Instead of laughing lightly over this impractical scheme of a small boy, Ananta made it a definite point to ridicule me. Where is your orange robe? You can't be a Swami without that. But I was inexplicably thrilled by his words. They brought a clear picture of myself roaming about India as a monk. Perhaps they awakened memories of a past life. In any case, I began to see with what natural ease I would wear that garb of that anciently founded monastic order. Chatting one morning with Dwarka, I felt a love for God descending with avalanchic force. My companion was only partly attentive to the ensuing eloquence, but I was wholeheartedly listening to myself. I fled that afternoon towards Nainital in the Himalayan foothills. Ananta gave determined chase. I was forced to return sadly to Bareilly. The only pilgrimage permitted to me was the customary one at dawn to the Shioli tree. My heart wept for the lost mothers, human and divine. The rent left in the family fabric by mother's death was irreparable. Father never remarried during his nearly 40 remaining years. Assuming the difficult role of father-mother to his little flock, he grew noticeably more tender, more approachable. With calmness and insight, he solved the various family problems. After office hours, he retired like a hermit to the cell of his room, practicing Kriya yoga in a sweet serenity. Long after mother's death, I attempted to engage an English nurse to attend to details that would make my parents' life more comfortable, but father shook his head. Service to me ended with your mother. His eyes were remote with a lifelong devotion. I will not accept ministrations from any other woman. 14 months after mother's passing, I learned that she had left me a momentous message. Ananta was present at her deathbed and had recorded her words. Although she had asked that the disclosure be made to me in 1 year, my brother delayed. He was soon to leave Bareilly for Calcutta to marry the girl mother had chosen for him. One evening, he summoned me to his side. So this is about the story of the Mystic Amulet. Mukunda, I have been reluctant to give you strange tidings. Ananta's tone held a note of resignation. My fear was that it would inflame your desire to leave home. But in any case, you are bristling with divine ardor. When I captured you recently on your way to the Himalayas, I came to a definite resolve. I must not further postpone the fulfillment of my solemn promise. My brother handed me a small box and delivered mother's message. Let these words be my final blessing, my son, beloved Mukunda, mother had said. The hour is here and I must relate a number of phenomenal events following your birth. I first knew your destined path when you were but a babe in my arms. I carried you then to the home of my Guru in Banaras. Matlab, Lahiri Mahasaya. Almost hidden behind a throne of disciples, I could barely see Lahiri Mahasaya as he sat in deep meditation. While I patted you, I was praying that the great Guru take notice and I bestow a blessing. As my silent devotional demand grew in intensity, he opened his eyes and beckoned me to approach. The others made a way for me. I bowed to the sacred feet. My master seated you on his lap, placing his hand on your forehead by way of spiritually baptizing you. Little mother, thy son will be a yogi. As a spiritual engine, he will carry many souls to God's kingdom. My heart leaped with joy to find my secret prayer granted by the omniscient Guru. Shortly before your birth, he had told me you would follow his path. Later, my son, your vision of the great light was known to me and your sister Roma. As from the next room we observed you motionless on the bed, your little face was illuminated, your voice rang with iron resolve as you spoke of going to the Himalayas in the quest of the divine. In these ways, dear son, I came to know that your road lies far from worldly ambitions. The most singular event in my life brought further confirmation, an event which now impels my deathbed message. It was an interview with a sage in the Punjab while our family was living in Lahore. One morning the servant came precipitately into my room. Mistress, a strange sadhu is here. He insists that he see the mother of Mukunda. The simple words struck a profound chord within me. I went at once to greet the visitor. Bowing at his feet, I sensed that before me was a true man of God. Mother, he said, the great masters wish you to know that your stay on earth will not be long. Your next illness shall prove to be your last. There was a silence during which I felt no alarm, but only a vibration of great peace. Finally, he addressed me again. You are to be the custodian of a certain silver amulet. I will not give it to you today. To demonstrate the truth in my words, the talisman shall materialize in your hands tomorrow as you meditate. On your deathbed, you must instruct your eldest son Ananta to keep the amulet for 1 year and then to hand it over to your second son. Mukunda will understand the meaning of the talisman from the great ones. He should receive it about the time he is ready to renounce all worldly hopes and start his vital search for God. When he was retained the amulet for some years, when he has retained the amulet for some years and when it has served its purpose, it shall vanish. Even if kept in the most secret spot, it shall return whence it came. I proffered alms to the saint. He bowed before him in great reverence. Not taking the offering, he departed with blessing. The next evening, as I sat with folded hands in meditation, a silver amulet materialized between my palms, even as the sadhu had promised. It made itself known by a cold, smooth touch. I have jealously guarded it for more than 2 years and now leave it in Ananta's keeping. Do not grieve for me, as I shall have been ushered by my great Guru into the arms of the infinite. Farewell, my child, the cosmic mother will protect you. A blaze of illumination came over me with the possession of the amulet. Many dormant memories awakened. The talisman, round and anciently quaint, was covered with Sanskrit characters. I understood that it came from teachers of past lives who were invisibly guiding my steps. A further significance there was indeed, but one does not reveal fully the heart of an amulet. How the talisman finally vanished amidst deeply unhappy circumstances of my life, and how its loss was a herald of my gain of a guru, cannot be told in this chapter. But the small boy, thwarted in his attempts to reach the Himalayas, daily travelled far on the wings of his amulet. So this is the end of the chapter 2, which is my mother's death and the mystic amulet. And it is with great pleasure that I would like to inform you that these 2 chapters have been great to understand how our yogi was able to explain his childhood memories. There are further instances where he gets into boyhood and starts connecting with different gurus, again all in the divine light, who are blessed by the cosmic director himself. And what we are all going to be a part of this journey is to know more about why Guruji actually told us to read this book. Okay, and that is to have your life, architected, surrounded in simplicity. And the more simple you are, the more you are going to be with Guruji, because Guruji was extremely practical. He used to love simplicity. So with this message, I would like to say adieu to for today, as we conclude our day 1 for reading Autobiography of a Yogi. And I strongly encourage for you to read the book also on your own reading terms. And it is also quite important that we meditate in silence. And having said that, I would like to end day 1 by Guruji's mantra jap. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivji Sada Sahai. Om Namah Shivaya, Guruji Sada Sahai. Jai Guruji. Shukrana Guruji.